America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
This is the best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. Man, it's cold here in the Northeast, I'll tell you that. Next week or so, we will need to go where it's a little bit warmer, I would say. I don't know. I have great admiration for people who live even further north than I am. And there's a lot of people who do. Like people who live in Buffalo, I'll never understand that. Do you understand that, Rich? Holy mackerel. It's a lovely town, please don't get me wrong, but, 3 feet of snow is 3 feet of snow. In other parts of the country, of course, but hey, what can I tell you? Everybody's out there doing, snow angels and having a grand time. All right, I want to continue on the opening of the program, and then we'll get into some other things here. Talking about some of the people, some of the men who signed your Constitution, who are very poorly known, as a matter of fact. Remember, 7 delegates were appointed to attend the Constitutional Convention. 55 did, and only 39 of them actually signed the final document. That little factoid is something most people don't even know. All right, let's go with some. Now, here's a few whose names should be familiar to you, but you probably don't know a lot about. There's some whose names are definitely familiar to you, and I'm skipping over those. I'm trying to get to individuals you may not have ever heard of, who are not celebrated, but some you may have heard of, like Rufus King of Massachusetts. He was one of the youngest delegates. He was also one of the best speakers, renowned for the power of his oratory. He later served as a senator, a director of the First Bank of the United States, and America's minister to Great Britain for actually quite a long time, 1796 to 1803. John Langdon of New Hampshire commanded a militia company at the Battle of Saratoga, a key battle. In 1777, he sat on the Continental Congress. He was elected as senator in 1789 and rejected a nomination to be vice presidential candidate in 1812, believing he was too old, although he lived another 7 years after that. He wasn't even close to being too old, actually. In 1812, he was, well, maybe he would have been way too old. He was born in 1741. Potential VP candidate in 1812. 59. That was too bad. Believing, Jonathan Dayton of New Jersey, captain in the Continental Army at the age of 19. Dayton survived a period of imprisonment at the hands of the British and went on to a career as a lawyer and a politician with a little speculation thrown in for good measure. Land speculation, that is. The British were brutal as hell, by the way. You might say, okay, well, they were prison. No. Many of them were taken to these prison boats. About half the deaths during the Revolutionary War took place on these prison boats. 9,000 to 10,000 men died on these prison boats. Dysentery, other types of diseases. To the extent they were fed, they got rancid food. It was horrific. William Patterson in New Jersey, which today is, I think it's a vast majority Muslim. He was born in Ireland. His family migrated to the United States when he was 2 years old. He was New Jersey's Attorney General throughout the Revolutionary War, and although absent for the latter stages of the convention, he returned to sign the final document. Now, which raises another point I should mention. Of the 55 delegates that were at the Constitutional Convention, all of them didn't stay for the whole convention. Some of them would leave and come back. It was quite a lot of work for these men. It was a long, hot summer. And they still had to tend to their businesses, to their law practices, to their farms, to whatever they were doing. And so several of them came and went, and some of them, of course, stayed the whole time, like Madison and Washington and some others. And keep in mind, many of you already know this, I believe, I hope. Thomas Jefferson was not at the Constitutional Convention. He was in France, representing the United States. But he kept in touch with Madison as best as they could, the two of them with handwritten letters. But, of course, it took quite some time for them to pass one to the other. Jefferson would ultimately support the Constitution of Virginia, and Virginia was a very close call. Patrick Henry opposed it. George Mason opposed it. And then, of course, Washington supported it. Madison supported it. The four biggest states were Virginia, Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania. Virginia, they weren't sure it would pass. Massachusetts was fairly solid, but close. New York was on the cusp. Pennsylvania was in pretty decent shape in terms of ratifying the Constitution. William Blount, North Carolina, he was a half-hearted delegate who missed the first month of the convention, reluctantly signed the final document out of a professed desire to make acceptance unanimous. It wasn't unanimous. And for tonight, we will stop with Hugh Williamson, also of North Carolina. He was one of the most accomplished delegates. He was an ordained minister, a professor of mathematics, a medical doctor, a member of the American Philosophical Society, and scientist of some renown, having written an influential paper on comets. Unsurprisingly, he was a good friend with Benjamin Franklin. Now, Hugh Williamson of North Carolina, almost nobody's ever heard of him. And yet he was among the most accomplished of all the delegates, and highly respected. Isn't that amazing, Mr. Producer? Now, I'm not expecting you to memorize this. You know, this is audio. You're listening to it on the radio or on a podcast platform or Sirius satellite. But what I'm trying to do is, trigger a deeper interest in this, because our history is fantastic. You have people running around trashing our country and promoting Qatar. You have people running around telling you how awful the founding of America was. I'm countering that. And I want you to get really interested in your own country. And we will be covering a lot more of these men. And we're also going to circle back to the Declaration, but I happen to be interested in that list on the Constitution, and I wanted to share that with you. Now, we're going to take a brief break. We got a lot to do on this Friday, and we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. This is Mark Levin wishing you a Happy New Year. Now back to the best of me. You know, it was only a matter of time till Stephen A. Smith, a dear friend of mine, would come under attack by individuals who do not like the fact that this man is an independent thinker. And he is. And I'm reading here in something called Blavity.com. And if I can wipe all these damn commercials that pop up on my screen here off, that would be great. Retired NBA player Steven Jackson is speaking out about how Stephen A. Smith addresses prominent black figures versus those who are non-black. Now, listen to that sentence. Listen to that. This is really an effort at intimidating Smith. He's not going to be intimidated, certainly not by Steven Jackson. According to an Instagram post from Complex Sports, Jackson published a video online comparing Smith's past loud stances with LeBron James and most recently Representative Jasmine Crockett to his latest encounters with Alexis Ohanian, who's the husband of Serena Williams. He noted how Smith was more composed when confronted by Ohanian, who happens to be white. Say what? Why don't you write a long list of African Americans who Smith supports? Or a list of white athletes who Smith has criticized? What kind of stupid guy is this guy, Steven Jackson? Jackson criticized Smith for the dialed-back energy he displayed during Ohanian's guest appearance on his show First Take. Come on, Stephen A. Bro. You get loud and all in your feelings about Braun when talking to a black billionaire, but when you're talking to a white billionaire, you humble. And you come back on your show talking real respectful, mild-mannered, Jackson said in the recording, and you're dogging the black woman. Stay out of politics. Stick to talking about sports you never played, all right? Just stick to doing that, bro. What kind of an a-hole is this guy, this Jackson? He just wants a bomb thrower, that's all. Bomb thrower. Be a bomb thrower. Don't think independently. Jackson doesn't want to hear from people who are smart, who are wise. He just wants to hear what he wants to hear. He wants his viewpoints to be reinforced by somebody else. You know what that is? That's a mental coward. That's what that is. No, I haven't talked to Stephen A. about this. We don't waste our time talking about stuff like this. We're not going to vote for you. Nice. I heard you talking about running. Don't do that, bro. We're not going to vote for you. You do not have the same energy for other people, but you got a lot of energy for Braun and black women and not everybody else. Now, ridiculous. If I'm married and my wife is going to troll her ex, go back to his blank, because clearly you don't belong with me, Smith said. What you wear? I'm not going to get into all this, but what I will get into is this. What is Stephen Jackson's problem? He only wants to listen to black people who agree with him? Just circle the wagons all the time? You shouldn't look at somebody independently as another human being and draw your own conclusions? You know, I used to follow these various athletes, NBA, Stephen Jackson. I don't remember who the hell Stephen Jackson was. He couldn't have been that great. Was he good, Mr. Producer? Average, right? Average? Well, he's a below average right now. Trashing Stephen A. Smith. They want a guy on there, on ESPN and on his own podcast, who's part of the chorus. They want somebody who's in the Rockettes, who all sing the same and dance the same. Left leg up, left leg, right leg up, right leg up. And based on race. And based on race. Now, some of you people, you don't like Stephen A. You say to me, hey, He's not conservative enough for me. He's not a conservative. He's not a liberal. He's not a racist. He's not a bigot. If anything, you could call him a moderate. And he aligns with the Democrat Party, but he's not one of these radical kooks in the Democrat Party. Okay? He's a capitalist. He believes in civil liberties and civil rights. I know the man. I listen to the man. So I don't know what this Stephen Jackson's talking about. What's interesting to me is not one word in here about substance, actual substance. It's all race baiting and chorus line dancing and singing. That's it. That's all. I think this guy Jackson is jealous of Stephen A. That's what I think. He's jealous. I don't know what Blavity is. Is that a race-related site, Mr. Producer? It may well be. I don't know. I never heard of it. But I saw it, so I'm commenting on it. Now, the truth is, when you get out of sports and into these other parts of our culture, you're subjected to this stuff. As I'm subjected to anti-Semitism and bigotry. But I'm a big boy. I got thick skin. I can handle it. And I do handle it. And I'm a counterpuncher. And I'm fairly certain Stephen A. is the same. Fairly certain. It's tough enough to do these jobs to have some jackass like Stephen Jackson start. And who is he? He's a nobody. He's just posting stuff. I think he's jealous as hell. That's what I think. Whatever you do, don't criticize Braun. No. Jasmine Crockett? No, she can run around bad-mouthing anybody she wants, saying the dumbest thing she can possibly imagine. No. Treat her with kid gloves. You know what? If Stephen A. Smith followed Stephen Jackson, he wouldn't be a successful man. People wouldn't respect him regardless of race. There's a reason why Stephen A. Smith is by far, in my view, the most popular man on ESPN and enormously popular on any platform he goes on. I'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. This is the best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. Yes, I know that article's from October, so what? It's still relevant. As far as I'm concerned, that's the mindset, you see. People... Here's the thing. In totalitarian regimes, whether Marxist, fascist, or whatever, they try to control your mind, your ability to think, your ability to express yourself. That's why free speech is so damn important. Doesn't mean you can't be criticized for something you say, of course. Doesn't mean certain types of speech aren't considered a threat, like if you're threatening to kill somebody or something of that sort. But so what this Jackson guy is doing is trying to control Stephen A.'s mind, trying to control what comes out of his mouth through what I consider very vile criticism. I just thought I would point that out. We have a great ambassador to Israel, as you know, because I say it over and over and over again, just so people don't think that I'm hiding anything. I'm proud of it. My stepson is his senior staffer. I'm very proud of Mike Huckabee. I think Mike Huckabee has done a fantastic job, is doing a fantastic job, and I'm a big fan of his. And he's under attack by the same people who attack me, by the same people who, you know who they are, that same crowd. But he's a big believer as an evangelical Christian in the Christian faith. My wife and I, my mother-in-law, on Wednesday mid-afternoon, we had lunch with our dear, dear friends, Pastor John Hagee and his wonderful daughter, Sandy. He is the pastor of one of the largest churches in America, San Antonio, Cornerstone. And he's very supportive of the president. And he began an organization a few decades back called Christians United for Israel. So he comes under attack. But he doesn't care. I don't care. We do what we think is right. We're believers. And Mike Huckabee is too. He is as well. And he was doing a interview with, I guess it's a podcast, Friends of Zion. And just so you folks know, all Zionism means is you support the state of Israel. That's it. I'm a Zionist, you say? Okay, you support the state of Israel. They've tried to turn it into some kind of pejorative or even a cuss word. It's like this group AIPAC. I've never spoken to AIPAC. I don't work with AIPAC, but so what if I did? It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. They don't take foreign money, no money from Israel, certainly no money from Qatar. And they support relations between the United States and Israel. Other ethnic groups or religious groups do the same thing. As a matter of fact, Qatar spends much more money in the United States, that's foreign money, than is raised and spent by AIPAC, that's American money, in the United States. But this is what the anti-Semites do. But the anti-Semites hate evangelical Christians. Hate them. Hate them. Because evangelical Christians believe as the Bible states. They don't believe in this replacement theory, one religion replacing another. They believe it's a continuum, the Old Testament to the New Testament. The replacement theory is that the New Testament replaces the Old Testament, yet the New Testament references the Old Testament over and over and over again. And obviously many of the great men and women in the Old Testament are referenced and in the New Testament. And the apostles were Jewish. And Jesus was Jewish. And we can go through this over and over again. So it would actually be an impossibility to have a replacement theory that is Christian. It would be impossible. And that's what Mike Huckabee understands and explains. That's what Pastor Hagee, Pastor Evans, who was in Israel the other day, in Judea and Samaria, that's wrongly called the West Bank of Jordan somehow, where he spoke to 1,000 pastors. You're not hearing about these things going on here, because a lot of it goes on without notice by podcasters, cable TV, network TV, but they're going on, and it's big. And the pushback is big. And here is Ambassador Huckabee. And another would be Ted Cruz. And there are many others. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. These are evangelical or solid believers, true believers in Christianity. Here's Ambassador Mike Huckabee yesterday. Cut one, go.
Was Israel's attack on Qatar without cause or merit? Well, let's be real clear. There's been some talk that Israel attacked the country of Qatar. It did not. It did, in fact, send a missile to attack a terrorist who had been partly responsible for the murder of Israeli citizens, but it did not attack the country. There was one missile. It was aimed at one person. Now, unfortunately, there were some people who were near that missile strike that were injured or killed from it. But that was not an attack on the nation of Qatar. If that's the new standard, then the United States must apologize for going after Osama bin Laden while he was in Pakistan being protected by the Pakistanis. Once again, we can't apply a different standard to Israel than we do to every other nation.
Now, for some people, this will be considered controversial. There's not a controversial syllable in anything that he said, because it happens to be the truth. That's exactly what took place. That's exactly what took place. So they're asking him these questions, and he's responding to them. He was asked, is Israel a genocidal nation? Cut two, go.
One of the questions that many people were asked, is Israel a genocidal nation? The answer to that is demonstrably and laughably no, they're not. To be genocidal, to actually commit a genocide, you have to intentionally try to kill civilians, and not just kill civilians, but to kill all of the civilians within a particular area. That simply never happened in Gaza. A lot of people seem to forget that the war in Gaza was started when Israel was attacked. A shocking attack on civilians who were waking up on a holy day and then were viciously attacked from terrorists coming over from Gaza. These attackers didn't come just to kill, but to massacre and to mutilate.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the final clip that I want to raise. What about Israel and Epstein? See, he's being asked about all these conspiracies, all these falsehoods, all these allegations, and he's responding to them. Cut three, go.
This is another question that is Israel blackmailing the U.S. government with the Jeffrey Epstein files? Again, what a ridiculous kind of unfounded, unverified allegation. It emanates from someone's imagination. Nobody's provided one shred of evidence to indicate that there's any truth to it. Reckless allegations, whether it's against an individual or a country, are just that. They're reckless and they're harmful. Just like no one would want to have people say crazy things about them individually or their families, people ought to push back when anyone, whether it's a podcast host or just somebody making a speech, gets up and says something as unfounded as that somehow Israel was behind Jeffrey Epstein.
He's such a thoroughly decent man, isn't he? Oh, and for all the conspiracy nuts out of there, I almost never talk to Mike Huckabee. When I see him publicly, I don't call him. I don't text him. If I'm in Israel and I see him, of course, I have it's a great honor to shake his hand and to meet him. And one day I hope we'll get to know him better. And yes, my stepson is so honored to work with him and for him. And the president appointed him for that position. He does a fantastic job. They both do. As the president does. As the Secretary of State does. They've done a fantastic job. I couldn't be more proud of all of them. All right, much more when I return. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. This is Mark Levin wishing you a Happy New Year. Now back to the best of me. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but I've told you this before, but to emphasize it during this holiday season. It's quite unfortunate, but here I go. Marjorie Taylor Greene is as dumb as she looks. Now she's gone from dumb to evil. She's trying to diminish the president with her outrageous attacks on him. They're relentless. They're daily. I warned you about her months and months ago. She's a wrecking ball. In 5 years in Congress, she's done absolutely nothing to affect your life in a positive way. She's resigning at a time to ensure that she gets a lifetime pension, even though she's become very wealthy while in office. But she needs another $8,500 or $9,000 a year. But she won't go away. She won't go away. She's a rash on the body politic. A rash. In fact, she's such a rash that the Yentas on The View want to have her back. They love her. They don't respect her. Not one whit, but they love her. Our friends at Mediocrite can't get enough of her. I counted the other day, they had 3 or 4 stories up there with her. They get a lot of clicks, they get a lot of eyes with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's exactly what you don't want in a politician. Self-serving, self-aggrandizing. And she wants you to know that the Republican Party doesn't respect women. Gee, we've never heard that before from the party of Ted Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Of course, the bad news for her is there's a lot of Republican women who can't stand her and consider her an embarrassment, because she is. I think both sexes, for you liberals, both genders, can agree on that. She's a disruptor, not for good reasons, but to self-promote. There she was with the leader of Code Pink the other day, calling her a good friend. Code Pink, The View, trashing Republicans, trashing the president, and she's trashing now the speaker. Her favorite media site, Mediocrite, they being the favorite among her admirers. Marjorie Taylor Greene wildly plotting to oust Mike Johnson on her way out of Congress report. Of course she should get a pension for the rest of her life. Isn't she very constructive? She's reportedly testing support for a last-ditch effort to remove Speaker Johnson with barely weeks left in office. She's quietly sounding out colleagues about backing a motion to vacate the chair. I think the Republicans are going to have enough trouble holding on to the majority in the midterms, thanks to the neo-fascists, the Christian haters, the Jew haters, and so forth and so on. I really do. And it's hard enough historically for the party in power to remain in power during an off-year or a midterm election. But Greene, like Carlson have made it clear they want the Republicans to lose. They want to burn it down. That's what they're all about. Marjorie is approaching members to get to 9 who will oust the speaker, the source said. If we don't get to work on codifying Trump's agenda, anything can happen. Now, she's publicly denied the report and slammed MS Now, journalist who approached her about the reports, insisting it wasn't true that she was organizing against Johnson. I'm not interested in participating in your story, she said. But the claims surface after repeated attacks on the speaker by Green over the Republican shutdown strategy, healthcare policy on CNN this week, accusing him of marginalizing female GOP lawmakers. What a clown. But if the plot is real, Green faces steep odds, and with her upcoming resignation taking effect at the beginning of January. You know, you listen to her, if you must. And then more photos are released involving Epstein. And what I noticed, what was particularly interesting, I noticed it, others have noticed it, is the extent to which Steve Bannon had a cozy relationship with Epstein. There's one photo. Where are they standing? In his apartment? Mr. Producer, Epstein's apartment? We don't know where it was, but there they are, hip to hip. One was Epstein's office. Another one was where there was a picture of an underage girl in a state of what? In a very poor state, right on the table. Bannon needs to come clean. He needs to release his videos. He needs to explain to the people who are paying to watch his bombast cast. The hell were they doing? I cast no aspersions. I just ask questions. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
This is the best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. You know, folks, a lot of people say things on the internet, in podcasting, on radio, and so forth, that are simply false and dishonest. Or they try and create impressions. And we get this all the time, do we not? People aren't so much interested in conveying facts and truth and information. They're more interested in trying to manipulate. We get this all the time from the Marxist Islamist left and the neo-fascist right. We are constitutional conservatives. We don't deny that we press our principles, but we do it with knowledge and facts. Not to manipulate people, but to persuade people, to influence people through debate and argumentation. The other thing I notice is Saul Alinsky is alive and well in the minds and hearts and souls of the Marxist Islamists and the neo-fascist right, when they are constantly going after individuals to try and destroy them and smear them on made-up arguments. There's a lot to go over tonight, and I want to do it. We'll do the best we can. But I want you to hear some of what President Trump said. President Trump has never flinched in his support for the state of Israel. His father was a huge supporter of the Jewish community in New York. He worked with many fellow Jewish real estate titans and others. And so it's not like the Jewish community was, the reptile house at the zoo. It was part of sort of the assimilation of what takes place in New York. And Donald Trump did the same thing. And so when his daughter Ivanka married Jared Kushner, an Orthodox Jew, there were no objections. There's no shock, none of that sort of thing. The president is a very, very open-minded man. He definitely is, but he is also a man of principle. He has said some things to me in private about what he sees taking place that I will not share with you. And he says these things because he's quite shocked and disturbed by them. Again, he's never tried to camouflage who he is and what he believes. There are people who've tried to twist who he is and what he believes. People who have tried to hijack his belief systems and claim that they're responsible for him and his election and MAGA, when you and I both know they have nothing to do with what we believe and what we support. The president is very, very concerned about the anti-Semitism that's taking place in the United States and around the world. He said so last night. He's very supportive of the state of Israel, as he has demonstrated now in his second term. Even if you have some disagreements with him, and I have from time to time, there's simply no question where he stands on this issue. He is well aware of the rising tide of Islamism, and he's put policies in place to try and fight it and deal with it. And as anybody who actually meets him or deals with him, even in a crowded room, know, he's an enormously kind man. He's a great host. And so my wife and I were standing there, my mother-in-law and stepdaughter, and he calls out to me and my wife, Julie. And there's a lot of important things I want to get to today, but I want to give you a sense for what was taking place. And I'll give you an example of some of this because people have been asking me about it. Cut one, go.
We have a man, I have to take a little time. He did so well that they put him on Saturday too, Saturday night. You know who I'm talking about? Because there's only one has Saturday and Sunday. And Saturday is considered Death Valley, but it's not death because of ratings. Nobody gets good ratings. Although actually my daughter-in-law is doing well, and you always did well. The great one, Mark Levin. And much more importantly, his much more brilliant wife. Where are you? There you are. Would you come on up here, both of you? Get up here. Get up here.
That's Julie.
Look, every Saturday, every Sunday, I'm forced to watch television to listen to this guy talk about how freaking great I am. Because he does like Trump. There's no question about it.
Yes.
Come on up here, Mark. Get up here. Come on up. What a beautiful couple. Did you get lucky? If you weren't a genius, you wouldn't have a wife like this. Mark, say a couple of words. Come here, darling. And these people do like Israel.
Hold on. And he loves Israel too.
It's true.
2 seconds. 6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, "This is our first Jewish president." Now he's the first Jewish president to serve two not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
That's right. Bad things happened on the second one. Namely, the election was rigged. And we found out, and you see that happening. But
And you are the greatest president.
Thank you very much.
And God bless you. I miss you.
Take care of that guy. Take care of that guy. No, he's so great. Thank you, Mark, for both being here. You both really are amazing.
So, of course, this is posted here and there, and the Carlsonites, the Fuentesites, in other words, the Jew-hater anti-Semites, they're all over the place. They're done with Trump because Trump has demonstrated that he's Israel first, and we've had enough, and look at the Jew influence. Donald Trump is a patriotic American. I'm a patriotic American. My family's been here for 125 years, and they have fought the wars, World War I, World War II, and I really get sick and tired of this crap from these neo-Nazi, neo-fascist, Marxist pigs. And I will fight these people with my last breath. They're trying to destroy the Republican Party. They're trying to destroy MAGA. They're trying to destroy the conservative movement, and they're trying to destroy the Trump presidency. I had on Life, Liberty, and Levin on Sunday the director of the Reagan Institute in Washington, who went through the different positions of MAGA when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to our military, when it comes to our alliances, when it comes to the state of Israel, when it came to bombing the nuclear sites, when it comes to Taiwan. MAGA is solid conservatives. And I'm telling you why. Because MAGA is the Tea Party. MAGA is the Reaganites, without certain Reaganites who are more rhino than conservative. That's who we are. That's who we are. We're not neo-fascists. We're not neo-Nazis. We're not isolationists. We're not anti-American. We're not pro-Putin, pro-Qatar, pro-Iran. That's the enemy. The enemy. Carlson is the enemy. Bannon is the enemy. Owens is the enemy. No Pants Gates is the enemy. They may claim they love this country. They hate it. They may claim they love the American people. They despise you. The president's the real deal. The real deal. Here he is at the reception last night. Cut 2, go.
Let me take a moment to send the love and prayers to our entire nation, to the people of Australia, and especially all those affected by the horrific and anti-Semitic terrorist attack, and that's exactly what it is, anti-Semitic, that took place on a Hanukkah celebration in Sydney. What a terrible, terrible thing. We don't learn. We're joined in mourning all of those who were killed, and we're praying for the swift recovery of the wounded. Some are very horrifically wounded, as you probably know. All nations must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're doing that.
I will share this with you a few weeks or maybe a month or so ago. When I was talking to the president, he said, Mark, you would not believe the level of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel believers that are out there. He is shocked by this. Cut 3, go.
As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people. I have been. And I will say, if you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago at the most, the strongest lobby in Washington was the Jewish lobby. It was Israel. That's no longer true. You have to be very careful. You have a Congress in particular which is becoming anti-Semitic. You have AOC +3. You have those people, Ilhan Omar, she hates Jewish people. And you have to be very careful because there's been a big change.
Cut 4, go.
How about October 7th? And then you have people that deny it ever happened. How about the people that deny, like they deny the Holocaust, but, you figure, well, that's just many years. Well, October 7th is not many years at all. And you have people that deny October. I saw tape that I wish I never saw it, actually. I wish I never saw it. I got to see tape that some of you got to see, but as president, I got to see things I wish I never saw. But there's no denying it. But then they'll say, oh, the tape was a rigged tape. It was a tape that never existed. They made it up. It's just propaganda. I don't know if they believe it. I don't think they believe it, but you have to be very, very careful. Bad things are happening, and we're not going to let that happen. While I'm president and the DOJ and Harmeet, we're not going to let it happen. But please be vigilant and careful, because you have some bad people that are now in Congress that were unthinkable to be in Congress 12, 13, 14 years ago, 15 years ago.
The president knows exactly what's going on. And by the way, he's a man of deep faith. He is a Christian believer. He absolutely is. A man of deep faith. And this is why he's troubled by this. But I wanted you to hear this. There's very few leaders in the world who speak like this. There's a handful of leaders in the United States who speak like this, just a handful. And I want you to understand that Donald Trump is a tremendously patriotic American, as you are in this audience, Mr. and Mrs. America. But when he sees injustice, he sees bigotry, he sees racism, he sees anti-Semitism, he addresses it. That's what we Americans do. We run to the aid of our fellow citizens, whomever they may be, and we reject the enemy within and the enemy outside that seek to come within. And we reject the haters, the bigots, the racists, the anti-Semites, the anti-Christians, who at least temporarily have microphones. Time will tell. Be right back.
Mark Levin.
As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewn Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you. You're listening to the Best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. By the way, just to kind of wrap this up, I met a number of wonderful people last night, too. Tremendous people. One of the people I met was Laura Loomer. I don't recall if I've ever met her or not. I'm not sure. But very impressive. You know, they mock her, they attack her, they belittle her, and so forth and so on. And it's like me. You don't always agree with me, and you may not always agree with her, but she has done fantastic work in uncovering many of these neo-fascists and their ties to Qatar and their ties to Russia and so forth. And it was a pleasure to meet her and her fiancé, as well as so many other rock-solid American conservatives. We'll be right back. As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewed Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you. This is Mark Levin wishing you a Happy New Year. Now back to the best of me. You know, we're learning more and more about what happened in Australia, some of the people, some of the heroes there. Just horrendous what took place there. The tie-wearing Australian cop, New York Post, believed to have single-handedly taken down the Bondi Beach terrorist with a once-in-a-lifetime shot. He's identified as a local detective who joined the force because he hates crime. Now, Detective Senior Constable Cesar Barraza has been hailed a hero after he was filmed hiding behind a tree and then opening fire on the two rifle-toting suspects from 130 feet away during Sunday's massacre. Barraza, who was wearing a standard detective's uniform of a shirt and a tie, was only armed with a handgun, a pistol, at the time. His shots are believed to have killed 50-year-old killer Sajid Akram and then injured his 24-year-old son, Naveed Akram, just moments later. Barraza, who joined the force 16 years ago, was previously featured on the Australian reality TV show Recruits, a series that follows young officers starting their careers. The police veteran's aim has widely been described by law enforcement as the shot of a lifetime, the Daily Telegraph reported. I mean, a pistol at 130, that's pretty far. Sources added that even the force's best shooters would have struggled to hit a target from such a distance. The second shot has astounded firearm experts. They actually can't believe it, one source told the outlet. Police are still examining ballistics to confirm that Barraza's bullets were the ones to take down the terrorists. The two suspects slaughtered 15 people, all Jews, celebrating Hanukkah at the famed beach. Naveed Haram, the surviving suspect, charged 59 offenses, including 15 charges of murder. He's awakened from coma in Sydney. One count of murder for each fatality and one count of committing a terrorist act. Police said Akram's car, which was found at the crime scene, contained improvised explosive devices and homemade ISIS flags. And by the way, he got his gun license renewed despite the fact that he was on a list and despite the fact that they knew he might be a big problem. So that's not a matter of gun control. That's a matter of bureaucratic incompetence, isn't it? And so now they want to tighten the gun laws. Really? Really? It's too bad citizens weren't armed so they had a fighting chance. That's the problem. It's a big problem. There were other heroes, a teenager who threw himself on top of a young child who was murdered. He was murdered. One of the individuals who was seriously wounded was a young gentleman who is training to be a rabbi, who my wife and I, my mother-in-law, met at a Shabbat dinner about a year ago. 4 of these young men were at our rabbi's home, and we got to meet them. In my case, the blowing of the shofar. I had to stay home most of the time because of my injury, and they came to the front door and they blew the shofar, no doubt scaring the hell out of the neighbors. He was severely wounded. One of those young men was severely wounded. And anyway, so this is what took place. And you're not hearing a condemnation really much, are you, from the Arab world, the Palestinian world? You don't hear very much about it because this is considered an accomplishment. This is what children are told to do, almost when they come out of the birth canal. Now, the so-called Palestinian Authority, the so-called moderate Palestinians, if you shoot in a terrorist act and kill, you're awarded with a pension. Your family is. If you're killed, they're awarded with a pension. If you're in prison, they're awarded with a pension. The more mayhem you do, the bigger the pension. And that's the Palestinian Authority. That's Abbas. So this kind of killing and slaughter is encouraged. And I want to remind you of something. It's not just against Jews. Clearly this was. And clearly that's the main target. But they're targeting the entire West, and people are finally starting to wake up to this fact. And that's why the president is now barring Palestinians from entering the United States on Palestinian Authority-issued travel documents. The president understands this is a problem. Now, this group, this radical anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian group in L.A., the group planned to bomb Los Angeles buildings marked with Hamas triangles, FBI reveals. They're called the Turtle Island Liberation Front. They had bomb-making stations. They had free Palestine stickers. It was all set for New Year's Eve. 4 members of this group were arrested. They were planning 5 coordinated bombings across Los Angeles, the Department of Justice announced, as you know. It involved painting Hamas triangles near their targets, and photos show free Palestine stickers gathered across bomb-making stations. Audrey, Eileen Carroll, Zachary, Aaron Page, Dante Gafid, and Tina Lai, all charged by federal prosecutors with conspiracy and possession of unregistered destructive devices following their arrest. They hold significant ties to the anti-Israel movement. They're anti-capitalist, anti-government movement, centered around militant, anti-Israel rhetoric and open endorsement of violence. And they were just going to kill. The members allegedly planned to target 2 companies in their attack. While the complaint didn't name the companies, the group protested Elbit Systems, an Israeli defense company, outside its Los Angeles office. And it's named after an indigenous term for North America, has also expressed support for so-called Arab resistance, has appeared at protests displaying signs reading, "Israel's the right to go to hell." Other slogans promoted by the group include "Free Palestine" or "Scorch the Earth." The group has also called for death to ICE, death to America. I've explained this now for years, have I not? I've explained for years the overlay between all this. I've explained for years about the Marxist-Islamist fusion. I've explained for years how their goal is to destroy the West, particularly Israel and the United States. And thankfully, more and more people are repeating it as if they have brilliantly figured it out. But we've been discussing this right here for a long time. The attack laid out instructions for constructing complex pipe bombs, conducting surveillance, evading law enforcement. This was going to happen on New Year's in the L.A. area. Destroying evidence after the attack, it called for coordinated teams to plant backpacks with explosive devices at 5 separate locations and detonate them simultaneously at midnight, December 31, 2025, the plot explicitly cited New Year's Eve fireworks as a way to mask the sound of explosions and delay detection by authorities. At one meeting, one of the would-be terrorists, Page, asked those present whether they would be interested in receiving firearms training. Another, Carol, added that she had a contact who could obtain unregistered ARs. Claimed another member with prior military experience could help source parts. Investigators also obtained access to encrypted communications used by the group. They're very sophisticated. According to signal messages reviewed by the FBI, the conspirators used a group chat titled Order the Black Lotus, described by Carol as their space for everything radical, to coordinate logistics, assign roles, share bomb-making instructions, and plan a Mojave Desert trip to test the explosive devices. The FBI intervened as the suspects actually began assembling explosive components at their desert site, arresting all four before a functional device could be constructed. Agents recovered potassium nitrate, sulfur, charcoal powder, PVC pipes of various dimensions, gasoline, primers, fuse materials, components that FBI bomb technicians determined could be readily assembled into improvised explosive devices and Molotov cocktails. Carol and Page discussed plans for follow-up attacks after New Year's Eve, including potential bite bomb attacks targeting ICE officers and vehicles, beginning in January and February. That would take some of them out and scare the rest of them, Carol said. It's what I keep explaining. You know, people, oh, the Jews this, the Jews that. Look at these people. Jews are number one on their hate list, but everybody's on their hate list. Our entire country, the whole system, law enforcement's on their hate list. This is why they hate Christians. Christians who are evangelicals, Christians who really embrace their faith, Christians who support the Holy Land and the State of Israel. But they hate America. Gatfield, a third of the four, served as president of the Associated Students of Cerritos College, the student government at Cerritos College in Norwalk, California, a role in which he acted as an elected student body leader before his term ended earlier this year. He also served on the District Committee on Safety. How about that? Australian officials confirmed the Bondi Beach Hanukkah attacks were motivated by Islamic State ideology. By the way, as pointed out by the Free Beacon and Breitbart and others, California Democrats, at least up to now, have basically been silent on the radical anti-Israel group's foiled Los Angeles bomb plot. You know, they don't want to hurt their electoral base. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewed Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you. You're listening to the Best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. You know, a man I haven't known long, but I consider him one of my best friends. Really, really one of my dearest friends. Is Sid Rosenberg, on WABC morning host, right, Mr. Producer? And he was at the Hanukkah party, too, and the president called him out. He's a big fan of Sid's. He's a great patriot. He really is a great patriot. And I've gotten to know him, and we text all the time. Just a terrific guy, and after the first of the year, we're going to have him back. I will be making an announcement when we return from vacation. I'm working on something right now, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting. I think most of you in this audience will find it very exciting, too. And I just can't announce it yet. I'm just not able to. And so, anyway, I'll leave it right there. Here we have an imam over at Breitbart, one of the great sites, from Joshua Klein. We have an imam in Miami, and we have these imams all over the country. Dearbornistan, all over New Jersey, other parts of Michigan, and of course in the Miami area, Florida, and so forth. Excuse me, cholera. U.S. deserves divine punishment. Trump is human garbage. The foot of the dirtiest Somali is cleaner than your face. America deserves mass punishment. By the way, can I ask you folks a question? I'm quite serious. Why are these neo-fascist podcasters, why do they all but ignore this stuff? Why do they ignore this stuff? They attack quote-unquote neocons. They attack conservatives, MAGA, Trump, Jews. But have you noticed how silent they are about this? Have you? America deserves mass punishment from Allah, but has been spared only out of honor for devout Muslims living in the U.S., according to a Florida Islamic cleric who went on to denounce President Trump as human garbage, claims Somali's feet are cleaner than the American president's face, mocks Secretary of State Marco Rubio as gay, and declaring that the mere prospect of a caliphate gives him nightmares. He did this during a sermon. North Miami Islamic Center. His preacher, Dr. Fadi Youssef Kablawi. I believe the system in this country has committed so much injustice in the world. Then why are you here? Why don't you take your ass and get the hell out and go back where you came from? Seriously. I'm sick of people who come into my country, come into our country, with their hate, with their vile, violent ideology. Come into my country, come into our country, refuse to assimilate, trash everything that's been built here over 250 years that men and women have fought for. Come in here, say they hate the country, we're unequal, we're unjust, then get the hell out of here. I've had it up to here. And I'm sick and tired of people in this country who defend this or ignore it. I'm sick of it. Don't tell me Allah's going to punish us. Greatest country on the face of the earth. I am sick of it. I'm sick of the neo-fascists who attack our country, attack our president, attack me. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the Marxist Islamists who are trying to secrete themselves into our electoral system, take over the Democrat Party. I'm sick of them too. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
This is the best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. Over at Powerline. I don't see an author to this, or I'd give them credit. Yesterday, the FBI delivered to the Senate Judiciary Committee emails relating to the search of President Trump's Mar-A-Lago home. Senator Grassley has released what I take to be all the responsive documents they write. Comments you may have seen on the emails are correct. The FBI did not think there was probable cause to search President Trump's home, but Merrick Garland's Department of Justice insisted. Now, you see, Going after a former president? The FBI thought they should communicate with Trump's lawyer and likely be able to reach an agreement. Garland's Department of Justice refused. The FBI pointed out that President Trump likely had a good legal argument on the documents. The Department of Justice did not care. There are some extracts from the emails. WFO stands for the Washington Field Office of the FBI, and they present rather significant evidence in these emails of what we're talking about here. And, of course, every evening after the show on the mothership, marklevinshow.com, we provide all the articles we talk about here and other articles that I've pulled together and other research sources and so forth and so on right there on the website. And we leave them up for like 4 years, don't we, Rich? Now, based on these email exchanges, it appears obvious the FBI hated the idea of a Mar-A-Lago raid, both because there was no probable cause for a search warrant and because the matter was being handled in an unprofessional and needlessly confrontational way by Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. Please, somebody tell me, why has Merrick Garland not been subpoenaed to testify? Behind closed doors or in front of the committee? Why? This incident is one of many illustrating the fact that under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice was bent to political ends and weaponized against the administration's opponents in a way that, to my knowledge, is unique in American history, the author writes. It's just amazing how they try and turn this stuff. John Hinderaker actually wrote it. It is amazing to me how they keep trying to create the impression that it is the Trump Justice Department, the Trump administration, that is weaponizing the justice system and the legal system, when in fact they're not. When in fact we just went through hell with the Department of Justice under the Democrats and what they did. This is what's so sick about these bastards, to be perfectly honest about it. So the FBI did not want to search Mar-a-Lago. They were overruled by Main Justice in Washington, D.C., Merrick Garland. Probably Monaco, the number 2. She's a radical kook. Probably no, not probably, but certainly Jack Smith, the rogue, unconstitutional, so-called special counsel. We anticipated all this. You and I, we talked about this at tremendous length for a long period of time, that this is what took place. Then we have the Associated Press because, Jack Smith's behind closed doors testifying. And so they have Democrats leaking to them. And you got all kinds of sleazy Democrats in there. You've got, for instance, Raskin. We know he's a red. We've got that clown woman from Seattle who's in charge of the, what is it? The progressives. Jayapal, that's it. Jayapal. Other miscreants, malcontents, sort of reprobates. Here's the Associated Press. Former Justice Department Special Counsel Jack Smith told lawmakers in a closed-door interview Wednesday that his team of investigators, quote, developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt, unquote, that President Trump had criminally conspired to overturn the results of the 2020 election. According to portions of his opening statement obtained by the Associated Press, so the Democrats handed it to him, they had powerful evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that he was trying to overturn the election. Okay, let me try this again. I know the media get all worked up and wet themselves over this collectively. You're allowed to challenge an election. You're allowed to send a separate slate of electors in case your challenge is successful. If you don't set a separate slate of electors, then even if you overturn the election results in that state legitimately, there's nothing to count. So you have a non-victory. You're allowed to challenge the votes. You're allowed to do all those things, all of them. And how do we know? Because they've all been done before. And worse, this is the first time that I know of where there was this systemic effort to criminalize all this with unelected bureaucrats, unelected prosecutors, and unelected investigators. at the federal level. Of course you're allowed to try and overturn an election. Maybe the election was fraudulent. Many people think, for instance, that John Kennedy winning the Democrat nomination in the 60s was fraudulent, but he did nonetheless. And I can go on and on and on. So that's not a crime. And how do we know that? Well, we know that because the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act had nothing to do with it. And yet that's where they went. The Enron obstruction statutes had nothing to do with it. I told you that, and the Supreme Court agreed. The federal maladministration or fraudulent statutes had absolutely nothing to do with it. And that's where you had to go to try and concoct a legal case against the former president of the United States. So when he says developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt, develop proof upon the reasonable doubt to do what? To challenge the election, to try and overturn results in a state or a county? That's not a crime. That's not a crime. The Democrats today, as I speak, in many states, and the Trump Justice Department is suing them to try and get the information, is supposed to be sharing their voter rolls with the Civil Rights Division. Why? To see if they're legit. People are voting twice. You got dead people on there, illegal aliens on there. They won't turn it over. Oh, I see. That seems like an effort to overturn a legitimate election at some point, right? So the Democrats are expert at this. They've perfected the process. But this phrase that morons out there keep repeating, oh, he tried to overturn the results of an election. Every party has lawyers that go into court. Does that mean they're trying to overturn the outcome of an election? Yes. Does it mean it's a crime? No. Does it mean the outcome of the election is legitimate? No. That's why you have lawyers. That's why you test it. That's why you go to courts. That's why you do have separate slates of electors in case you win. You're allowed to do all of this and more. What? All of this and more. Smith also said investigators had accrued powerful evidence Trump broke the law by hoarding classified documents from his first term as president. Excuse me. You were ruled unconstitutional. Everything you did flowed from that. What you did was unconstitutional. Who you are is unconstitutional. Don't give me you had powerful evidence that he violated some documents case when you shouldn't even have been doing any of this. He says, I made my decisions in the investigation without regard to President Trump's political association activities or beliefs. Now, the irony here, of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is a closed-door hearing. This opening statement was supposed to remain behind closed doors. In part, it talks about the abuse and misuse of documents, and one of the Democrats leaked it to AP as an abuse and misuse of a document. You see how that works? Testifying before this committee, Jack is showing tremendous courage in light of the remarkable and unprecedented retribution campaign against him by this administration in the White House, said his lawyer, Lanny Brewer. Remember that guy? Remember that Quisling, that weasel, Lanny Brewer? Let's be clear. Jack Smith, a career prosecutor. Oh, I guess that gives him immunity. Conducted the investigation based on the facts and based on the law and nothing more. And why do I give a crap what Lanny Brewer has to say, a Democrat hack? And Nebish. Yes. Committee's top Democrat, Jamie Raskin. Now, this guy is a Putin guy. This guy is a red. His father was a red. His father embraced the old Soviet. I'm not telling you anything that's not true. The Institute for Policy Studies was created. It's a radical left organization that backed the wrong side of the Cold War. This is his son, Raskin. Said the Republican majority made an excellent decision in not allowing Jack Smith to testify publicly because had he done so, it would have been absolutely devastating. Did you leak the document, Mr. Raskin? No, I didn't leak it. Will you say that under oath? I'm a congressman. Anybody else on the committee? Can we question whether they leaked the document? Jack Smith has just spent several hours schooling the Judiciary Committee on the professional responsibilities of a prosecutor, Raskin said. Of course, Raskin is a puke. And, of course, as I go through here, I'm not seeing a lot of comments by Republicans. Why? Because they're not leaking openly or, undercover. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This is Mark Levin wishing you a Happy New Year. Now back to the best of me. The House passed the Republican health care bill that does not include extensions of Obamacare subsidies. Nor should they, because this is an abomination. The bill, dubbed the Lower Health Care Premiums for All Americans Act, was passed 216 to 211. Just Representative Tom Massey voting with Democrats against the legislation. Yeah, this guy's got to go. I used to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's got to go. The bill, dubbed, as I mentioned, House leadership has struggled to reach a consensus on health care reforms ahead of the ACA deadline. God bless me. The issue has come to the forefront in the wake, again, sneezing to the truth, of the government shutdown the Democrats orchestrated to secure funding. As they write at Just the News, one of the great sites, the legislation is not expected to pass in the Republican-led Senate before it breaks for the holidays. I don't know what takes so long. I really don't. It's not that it's going to get better, but this seems to be the way it goes, unfortunately. Have any of you heard of Norman Podhoretz? Maybe you've heard of his son, John Podhoretz. He passed away today. Actually, I think it was yesterday. He was 95. And his son, John, writes, my father died tonight, December 16th, a month shy of his 96th birthday. Norman Podhoretz passed peacefully and without pain with a new translation of the Odyssey on his desk that had been sent to him by his friend Roger Hertog. It sat next to a copy of Alexander Pope's legendary translation, which he had asked my sister Naomi to order for him so he could compare the two. I haven't in many, many years, but I used to know Naomi quite well. At the very end of his life, Norman was his truest self, a man of letters. His greatest teachers, the men who had the most profound effect on him, Lionel Trilling at Columbia and F.R. Leavis at Cambridge, were critics who believed the life of the mind as expressed in literature was a high and noble calling. And I don't think it's bragging to say that he was a great literary critic, the last and maybe finest flowering of the group often called the partisan review crowd, though he did not write much for PR and published his most remarkable work in commentaries pages, beginning with a review of Bernard Malmaud's first novel, The Natural, pushed at the ripe old age of 23. Our website records he published 145 articles in these pages from 1953 to his final appearance in November 2020. Now, understand his background. Excuse me. He grew up on the poor side of New York, I believe Brooklyn, immigrant parents, and he went to public school. Turns out he was an intellectual giant. Intellectual giant. And, my wife Julie often says that for the left, particularly left-wing Jews, their religion isn't their religion. That is, their religion isn't Judaism. Their religion is their ideology. And Podhoretz himself wrote an entire book on this subject, trying to figure out why this was the case. This is a man who started out on the left, was a Democrat, moved to the right as a Republican, especially in the Reagan era, perhaps slightly before. And these are the people who are smeared and labeled as neoconservatives. There's nothing wrong with the word neoconservative, neoliberal, neo-this, neo-that. But the racists, the bigots, and the anti-Semites have used it to trash Jews without saying Jews. Tucker Carlson has done this. Steve Bannon has done this, and so many others. But neoconservatives actually are sort of a category of people who left the left, left the Democrat Party, moved to the right in the conservative movement, especially because they were anti-communist. That's what it was about. He said there will be much to be said about him in the days and weeks and months to come. I'll say more, as will many. But right now, what I think you might be surprised to know about my father is not that he was an astonishingly courageous intellectual force, though he was, nor that his determination to remain true to his ideas, his country, and his people were actually profoundly costly to him in terms of hostility that he generated and the friends he lost, though all of that is true, nor that he changed America and the world with his own work, those articles and books and so forth. In his 35 years at the helm of this magazine, commentary unequivocally and inarguably one of the most important editorships in American history, though he did. What you really need to know is that what mattered most to him was writing. Great writing, good writing, clear writing, honest writing. He was the most literate man I've ever known, possessed of an encyclopedic knowledge of the written word in our time and in times past, who found true moral, intellectual, aesthetic purpose in the act of reading and deciphering and comprehending. And it goes on. It's a beautiful piece from a son about his father who passed. And we will have it in our so-called, I guess we'll call it our library. We will have it at the end of the show. And it's men like this, great men, great thinkers who contributed greatly to this country, who are denounced by the neo-Nazis and the neo-fascists. I'll be right back. You're listening to the best of the Mark Levin Show. Happy New Year. Okay, let's see what we have here, if I may. Let's see. Let us go to Jason, Kensington, Maryland, on the Mark Levin app. Jason, how are you, sir?
Good day, Mark. How you going, mate?
Doing great. You're from Australia, obviously.
Yeah, I'm from Brisbane, but I do have a lot of friends in the Sydney area, and I have been to Bondi Beach a number of times back when I lived there, and it's a mess. And we have a prime minister who's obviously anti-Semite, and he's also wants to ban all the guns, as if they're not already banned already. We had a bit of a gun recall back in the 90s, which was basically now it's almost impossible to own a gun privately, and they're going to make it even worse now. And they can do it because it's more of a sort of a socialist country compared to here. They can just sort of step in there and do that sort of thing. But yeah, the police. Now you say he's anti-Semitic, and people, oh, there you go again. No, this guy's a bad dude, isn't he? He is, and he's been seen in university things years ago promoting, the two-state thing with the Palestinians, and also too, he's just become, since he's been a bit of a disaster. He's definitely got communist leanings, and he's definitely a globalist because he's good friends of China, and of course the WHO, WEF, all that. So he's been a bit of a disaster as a prime minister. I just not sure how this is going to end because he's still fairly new into his new prime ministership. How long is he there? If he holds up the whole time? Well, it's every 3 years we have an election, and he just got in not too long ago. So we've still got a bit of time left with him. But the thing is, too, the police. There's a lot of questions surrounding the police because that area, Bondi Beach, is sort of the most iconic beach in Australia. And they kind of picked that for a reason, and there's usually a lot of police around there, and we can't figure out why there was only 2 police people there on a day when they were having the Jewish celebrations, and yet when we... Isn't that weird? 3 cops and you have several thousand people there? Yeah, and well, if you flash back to the Palestinian protests, we had pretty much every cop on the beat out there. And you flash back to COVID. During COVID, people were getting arrested left, right, and centre for stepping outside their home on the wrong day of having, COVID restrictions. So, they had no problem, jumping on those sort of people. But all of a sudden, here they were ducking behind cars, and they couldn't take two guys out within, 20 minutes. I mean, if the residents would have had a gun or something to defend themselves, I'm sure they would have taken these guys out pretty quick because of the,
So what are you doing in Kensington, Maryland, of all places?
I moved here. I've been here for about 33 years. I moved here because my wife's from this area, and I just originally left Australia because of, of course, a little bit more opportunity here as far as work goes, and I hadn't really planned on staying that long, but it's kind of flown by. But I remember me and you were discussing about opal mining once. We're going to go opal mining out at Lightning Ridge.
There's nothing like Australian opals, but they're, they're harder and harder to find. I mean, it's very difficult now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
the good
like
ones.
I said, there's a lot of competition for it, and Cuba Pedy is got to deal with 120-degree temperatures, and you have to live underground too. So that's the main area of this.
But also, your diamond mines have mostly shut down too, right? Yeah,
pretty much, and pretty soon we're going to be shutting down all coal mines if our Prime Minister gets his way.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got the largest supply of coal in the world, and yet Australians are paying the most for their electricity. And the power is right under our feet.
The left is nuts, and yet people seem to buy into their BS, don't they?
Yeah, and I just can't understand that. And Australia's been pushing this what they call net zero policy, and the only net zero that's coming out of it is net zero income. It's sending people broke. I mean, I've got two nephews.
I want people to know, because I touched on it. Australia is very famous. It had the Argyle mine that closed in 2020. And that's where most of the world's best pink diamonds came from. And they had the Ellendale mine, and that's where the world's best yellow diamonds really came out of. And they've closed down. There have been efforts to kind of reopen that last one, but still. And that's one of the reasons the price for pink diamonds have gone up so high. And now yellow diamonds, where there used to be an abundance of them, there really isn't anymore. I mean, you can get them. You just got to pay more for them. And white diamonds or clear diamonds, however you want to go at, most of which come out of South Africa, that is essentially a controlled product. In other words, they can control how many diamonds come into the market and don't. And don't let anybody fool you. The price of white diamonds should be pretty flat right now. And one of the grave threats are these lab-grown diamonds that were created for industrial purposes. And then some geniuses got it in their minds to sell them retail. And they're very difficult to distinguish from the natural diamonds. Did I cover this pretty well, you think?
Yeah, pretty much, and that's the thing. It's all about control and controlling prices and how you buy them. It's the same thing in Australia. There's a lot of regulation, and it's regulations and taxes are just actually just killing small business out there. It's almost impossible to.
Australia used to remind me of Texas, that it was really a open country. You have a lot of open land, frontier land, and so. Then, of course, the leftists come in and they destroy all that. It's just terrible. Jason, I want to thank you, my friend. Give us a call again. Appreciate you. Let's go to Don, Long Island, New York. Excuse me tonight, folks. The great WABC. How are you?
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
That's my buddy, Don. Now, Don, everybody should know, keeps up a fairly regular correspondence with me, but he kept up a lot of correspondence with my dad. My dad loved Don.
Oh, yeah.
And Don is a very, very nice man. And every time I come out with a book, he produces a beautiful handmade wooden stand, usually different woods, sometimes wood from the property of very, very famous people. He's very, very talented. Anyway, go ahead, Don.
Oh, Mark, I just want to re-emphasize this. The Australian attack on the Jewish people celebrating the first night of Hanukkah, it's just numbing to the citizen psyche and emotional awareness. It's best to be informed of the dangers of a radical Islam, and you do it so well. And also, and the crap that these far-left radical professors are spitting out in lectures and classrooms. The videos of that Bondi shooting just show the callousness of these snipers and their fanaticism. It's upsetting, and but I want to thank you for keeping it front and center, because we have to know this stuff. We have to be aware, and this is the best way to do it.
Well, you're very kind.
Not to hide.
No.
Not to hide from it, but to be aware of what we're up against.
We're up against it as a people, as a society. 9/11, same people, just a different team, Al-Qaeda, but same ideology, same Islamist belief system, hit us on 9/11. And they hit Israel on October 7th. And they hit Australia, the Jews there, and they're plotting to kill more Americans. And this is a very, very dangerous period of time in our country. And we have a president that's actually trying to do something about it, unlike the prior president and some other presidents who were, unfortunately, politically correct, running around talking about Islamophobia. And that word Islamophobia, again, invented by the Islamists as part of their propaganda effort to prevent a free people like us talking about Islamism. And groups like CARE and groups like Students for Justice in Palestine, they have all kinds of cool names, you know. But they are what they are, and I can prove it in each and every case. And the information is readily available. And they are here. They are in our politics. They are in our schools. They are in our media. They are in our streets. And I'm talking about the Islamists. And these are very dangerous times. The president's trying to remove some of them, or many of them, or all of them if he can. But we have a rogue judiciary on the Democrat side where they took the most radical lawyers and made them federal judges. Look, I want to wish you, Don, and your family a fantastic Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. You're a good man, and I appreciate you. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This is Mark Levin wishing you a Happy New Year. Now back to the best of me. Program moved very fast. Oh, my. Oh, my. Oh, my. So we're trying to stop Venezuela from sending drugs into the country. And, of course, the Democrats take up the side of the druggies, the drug runners, the drug cartels, the killers. The killers. And so we have AOC on Capitol Hill after a closed-door briefing yesterday. And here's what she says. Cut 13, go.
This is one of the least professional classified briefings I have ever sat in on, with the least amount of legal and intelligence justification for what is happening.
Is it a war crime?
I believe so.
Okay, hold on. First of all, she's not even supposed to be talking about it. It was a closed-door briefing. Secondly, for this guy, Raju of CNN, well, was it a war crime? Based on what does he say that? Nothing. Based on the fact that he spews Democrat talking points. And he's asking AOC, so he knows her answer. America is always wrong. America is awful. America is unequal. America is unfree. America sucks. Well, that's what they say. That's what they believe. Go ahead.
I believe that what he has engaged in, I think beyond a war crime, I think this is just a crime. Congress has not engaged in authorized use of military force.
All right, thank you, and goodbye. Congress doesn't have to. I don't care what any former federal prosecutor has to say. They can cut off the funds or not. One of the biggest reprobates out there today, of course, is Marjorie Trader Greene. Excuse me, cholera. And she just can't shut the hell up. What, are you trying to shut me up? Nobody can shut you up, so don't worry about it, lady. But you're an imbecile. You would think if you're an imbecile, maybe she's a lunatic, not so much an imbecile. That is, maybe she's just crazy. You might want to put, kind of a zipper on your mouth. But not her. She wants to prove to the world that she is a complete idiot. And she's doing a hell of a good job of it, which is why the left loves her. They use her. The Constipated News Network, they never cared about her, but now they do. ABC News, The View, believe that? The Yentas love to have her there. Yeah, they pat her on the head and she says what they want her to say. Same thing. And, of course, the neo-fascists love her, too, because they don't like Trump. You've got to really listen to these people. They trash Trump, and they'll trash him after his speech tonight. Let's listen to her. Cut 17, go.
While CNN has been talking about affordability, all of a sudden, after Republicans got crushed in that election not too long ago, Fox News is all of a sudden willing to talk about affordability because it is a crisis. And health insurance is the coming crisis that...
Yes, and health insurance is the... Hold on. Health insurance is the coming crisis, and actually Obamacare did that. As I recall, the Democrats all voted for it, and the Republicans all voted against it. That's my recollection. I'm pretty sure that's the case. And Obamacare's blown up our healthcare system, so everybody's prices are going up, and for many people, the quality of care is very poor. The Republicans don't want to just continue down that road and put tens of billions of dollars in a black hole for insurance companies. No, they've been saying, hey, look, we need to reform this and fix this. We've got a bunch of ideas, but the Democrats don't want to do that. You see, they want to shut down the government and blame the Republicans. They'll burn down the whole country. They don't care. But, those Republicans, they're there. Suddenly they're talking about affordability. Trump has been talking about affordability since day one. But remember, we're dealing with a certified moron here. So whatever the Democrats say now, she's going to parrot like a parrot. Affordability. The affordability issue, blue states are unaffordable. Blue big cities are unaffordable. People are moving with their feet to red states because they're more affordable. If you live in Florida, you have no income tax. If you live in Tennessee, you have no income tax. And a handful of other states, too. So people move to Florida. They move, Texas. They move to Texas and Florida and Tennessee. Washington State, I don't believe, is an income tax, but they have a whole bunch of other crap that drives up costs. Affordability. Gas prices are way down. No thanks to the Democrats. Despite the Democrats. Boy, this woman is dumb as she looks. I'm just being honest. No offense. I call them as I see them. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. We salute the men and women in Ukraine right here. That's what we do. We salute the men and women in Israel and you, the American people. Red-blooded Yanks, you're the best of the best. And I'll see you tomorrow.